principessa nella tua fredda stanza, guardi le stelle che tremano d'amore e di speranza. Ma il mio mistero è chiuso in me, il nome mio nessuno saprà. Ora sulla tua bocca dirò quando la luce splenderà. Vincerò, vincerò,
By now, we all know that Donald Trump narrowly escaped an assassination attempt. And we also know that there's been very little concrete information coming forth about the would-be assassin. Remember, I've said over and over that there's no such thing as a conspiracy theory. There's just information that you're not made aware of. Information like this.
More questions this morning over the security failures that allowed Thomas Crooks to get a direct shot at former President Trump on Saturday. Sources tell Fox News that Butler Township Police flagged the Secret Service over a lack of manpower near the building that Crooks scaled and shot from. A New York Post headline says, quote, Trump rally shooter Thomas Crooks tracked ex-president's appearances for months.
Did you know about that? Have you heard that said anywhere? And now here we are 5 days later, and we are now just hearing that somehow this 20-year-old lone wolf with no social media has been tracking Trump for months. How in the world has he been tracking Donald Trump for months? And how in the world has he been tracking Donald Trump for months and nobody knew about it? This is a bombshell. And if I hadn't been watching this show at 2 o'clock, I would never have known about it. It just slid right into the news program.
3 people were shot at the rally, 1 fatally. Right now in Pennsylvania, private funeral underway for Corey Comparatore. The volunteer fire chief died while shielding his family in the...
As you know, Donald Trump had planned to go to this funeral, but either the Secret Service or his personal detail found out that the place where the funeral was being held was not secure. So they told Trump, you can't go. Imagine that. They're still looking for more threats. Obviously, we know that Iranian thing is out there, but he couldn't go to the funeral because they couldn't promise that they could secure it.
Let's bring in Kara Frederick, former DOD counterterrorism analyst. And Kara, the big question in this investigation is how in the world that rooftop was left uncovered. In the world of the Secret Service and presidential campaign events, it is an absolute no-no for an elevated platform with line of sight to where the president is going to be to remain either unblocked or unprotected. Do you have any theories as to what might have happened?
Theories? You mean conspiracy theories? Or are you basing it on things that you're beginning to find out? Because there are no conspiracy theories.
No, I think we're clearly not getting the full picture here because, as you intimated, this is physical security 101. And the fact that that rooftop was not secured is a massive oversight. So in terms of theorizing on what happened, it is critical for a security plan to have your local law enforcement, to have your state officials, and to have your federal authorities all coordinating. It appears that there was some sort of lapse in coordination here. But what I think the bigger question is there are reports that he was surveilling President Trump's movements over the course of months.
That is a much bigger story. I understand everyone's focusing on the water tower and they're focusing on how did he get on top of the building. But more importantly, this kid has been surveilling the former president of the United States for months. My big question is how'd they find out? When did they find out? How long have they known that this kid had the president, or rather former president, under surveillance? You'd think that'd be something that they'd want to know And then if they knew that this kid had the president under surveillance, and they knew that this kid didn't live too far away from Butler, Pennsylvania, didn't you put two and two together? Hey, we've seen this guy casing the joint, following Donald Trump around. It's been kind of suspicious, and we're going to go do an event in his hometown area, and we're not going to keep a strong eye on this kid. That make any sense to anybody? Not a conspiracy theory. You just found out more information.
How do we not know how he was surveilling? What digital platforms was he using to do it? Every type of sensor that the world is saturated with right now emits what we call a digital exhaust. They should be able to track down his geolocation based off of the digital surveillance platforms he was supposedly using. They should have a pattern of life for this kid. They should have content emanating out of that to paint a more fulsome intelligence picture to get after this guy. The fact that that wasn't done beforehand, and it doesn't appear to be, they don't appear to be exploiting that data, at least accurately for the public to see now, this is a massive oversight as well.
Who said they haven't? She made a great point. This is like Security 101. How do you not look into this? You mean you forget you didn't put anybody on the roof? You've known this guy's been surveilling Donald Trump for months, and you haven't been looking at his digital footprint, or as she called it, his digital exhaust? Or have you? Did you know what this kid was doing? Did you know who was transporting him from place to place to place? It ain't cheap. He doesn't seem like he had the means to be doing all of this. How did he go from here to here to here? Nobody's even talking about these things at this point.
You know, an intriguing little development in all of this, according to Congressman Michael Waltz from Florida, in that briefing with the Secret Service and the FBI, members of Congress were told that crooks had 3 encrypted accounts on overseas platforms. I don't think the name.
So this kid, this lone wolf 20-year-old loser, had encrypted communications on various servers and platforms internationally. Now put this together. This kid, who's got international connections on multiple platforms around the world, has been surveilling Trump for months. Then they have an event in this kid's backyard, and you happen to leave the roof unsecured for 50 or 60 minutes. Does this make any sense to anybody? Anybody at all? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Nature of the platforms was described. We don't know if they were financial accounts or if they were social media accounts or some other kind of account. But now there appears to be some sort of international component to all of this.
Yeah, and I think this is so interesting too. But as something I did for almost 10 years with the government and then with the big tech company, what you do is you can extract data from these platforms. You can figure out, who were these platforms that he was supposed to be using, even if they were encrypted. Who was he talking to? What are his IP addresses? Can you geolocate him to those physical locations? This is something tech companies can do. Was he using aliases? Are there any? What are the connections to that network via those platforms? Like you said, we don't know the nature of those encrypted overseas accounts.
She just said 4 or 5 questions there pretty fast. That is additional information that they either know already or they will know to fill in and basically lay breadcrumbs as to what happened. We're going to have to figure out, when did they know all of this? Who had all these pieces of information? What did they do with all of this information? Did it just get overlooked? Did it just get deleted? Again, no conspiracy theory. You just don't have all the information yet. Somebody has, and eventually they will.
But there are people who are in the government, even who are outside of the government, who can work to exploit that information that those accounts would convey. So the hearing next week should give us a lot of answers, because this is happening. The public is just not aware of what actually is going on.
The public is just not aware of what's really going on. Oh, who said that? Oh, I did. I've been telling you. That's what they do. They try to label people conspiracy theorists, and the only reason they can do that is because they haven't given anybody information. Speaking of information, check this out. This got posted today. Senator Josh Hawley says whistleblowers have come forward alleging the Biden Department of Homeland Security assigned, quote, unprepared and inexperienced personnel to Trump who weren't even Secret Service. We've been hearing about this. Whistleblowers who have direct knowledge of the event have approached my office, so people are talking. According to the allegations, the July 13th rally was considered to be a, quote, loose security event. Donald Trump is a high-profile target that you know the Iranians supposedly were trying to kill, but you labeled it a loose security event. Okay. For example, detection canines were not used to monitor entry and detect threats in the usual manner. Individuals without proper designations were able to gain access to backstage areas. Department personnel did not appropriately police the security buffer around the podium and were also not stationed at regular intervals around the event's security perimeter. Whose job was it to basically station these officers? No answers yet. In addition, the whistleblower allegations suggest the majority of DHS officials were not in fact U.S. Secret Service agents, but instead drawn from the Department of Homeland Security investigation. Completely different type of person who knows how to do close contact security. This is especially concerning given that HSI agents were unfamiliar with the standard protocols typically used at these events according to the allegation. I've been using the term JV. This wasn't even a JV. This was an intramural squad. They just sent out some people with guns and said, just go hang out with Trump and make sure he's okay. They had no kind of close contact, high profile security detail experience. They just didn't have it. So what exactly was the supposed coded message that I'm referring to that Trump may have sent out at the end of his speech yesterday? This correlation is going to blow you away. I gave you a huge hint in my opening video. Did you catch it? Well, let me play it again for you.
Nessun Dorma, Nessun Dorma. Tu pure, o principessa, nella tua fredda stanza, guardi le stelle e tremano d'amore e di speranza. Ma il mio mistero è chiuso in me, il nome mio nessun saprà. Ora sulla tua bocca dirò quando la luce splenderà. Vincerò, vincerò,
That song was sang at the end of the RNC convention yesterday. Right after Trump did his speech, they sang that song. Now you have to understand, every single second, the entirety of the RNC was scripted, even down to the most minutia of points. And knowing that, you have to realize that song wasn't played by accident. What I'm about to tell you might actually put chills up your spine. You see, the song that was sung at the end of the RNC after Trump's speech was a song called Nessun Dorma. It's one of Trump's favorite songs. The song was written for an Italian opera. The words literally translate to, "Let no one sleep." It ends with the singer proclaiming, "Allabba Vincero, Vincero, Vincero." Excuse my Italian pronunciation, but you get the point. Those words translate to, "At dawn, I will win, I will win, I will win." That song has also been used in a very prominent movie. It was featured in the ending scene of the 2002 thriller, The Sum of All Fears. Do you remember that movie? If you haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a long time, go ahead and watch it tonight. When you think about what happened on Saturday afternoon, a failed assassination attempt on Donald Trump, couple that with all of the unanswered questions you have, and I think you pretty much have the sum of all fears. Be sure to listen for that song as the movie ends. Watch what's unfolding on the screen as that song plays. The movie is from a book by Tom Clancy, and it's a part of the Jack Ryan series. Here's the plot of the movie, and it's eerily similar to what we're seeing right now. Listen to this. Jack Ryan and his colleagues discerned that a crate from the facility in Ukraine was flown to the Canary Islands, then sent to Baltimore on a cargo ship. Ryan warns Cabot, who is attending a football game in the city with U.S. President Fowler, those are character names, about a bomb threat. Fowler is evacuated before the bomb detonates, but the stadium is destroyed and Cabot is mortally wounded. Worsening matters, a corrupt Russian Air Force general who's been paid by Dressler sends warplanes to attack the USS John C. Stennis, an aircraft carrier, heavily damaging it and leading to the U.S. to believe that Russia perpetrated the nuclear bombing. So somebody set off a series of events where somebody was killed to create the illusion that Russia had started a war. Ryan learns from a radiation assessment team that the isotopic signature from the nuclear blast indicates it was manufactured in the United States. So the movie is about a president and an attack on the United States to stimulate a war between Russia and the United States that didn't have to start, and they found out that the bomb actually originated in the United States. See any parallels? You know, something that happens to probably start a war with Russia, or in this case, maybe Iran. If you open your eyes, you absolutely will see the parallels. Did Trump find out after the assassination attempt who was really behind it? By playing that song at the end of the RNC, was he sending a message to the co-conspirators who tried to take him out, both foreign and domestic? You see, in the movie, you find out that it was deep state characters that were trying to start the war. Was the performance of that song at the RNC a direct communication to those people in the so-called deep state to let them know that Trump was on to them? I can't answer that, especially not in this forum. I'm just putting forth this information and these parallels so you can do whatever you want with it. If you want to, cast it aside and ignore it. Open your eyes and realize what may be going on here. I tweeted this out right after the assassination attempt. This guy, DC Drano, put out a copy of Trump's new campaign ad, which I'm going to play for you. And my response after seeing that, and he says it will give you chills, I went, oh boy, in case you didn't realize it, we are probably experiencing a clandestine civil war in America. And here's your hint, alluding to the video that's playing. Listen to every single word of this video. If you have to rewind it, go ahead and do it. Don't miss a single word. And understand that Trump put this out after the assassination attempt.
Trump has left the building. Over.
We can now project the winner of the presidential race. Donald Trump wins the presidency.
What started off as unlikely, impossible, is now reality.
I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down.
We have a president who actually fulfilled the promises he made during the campaign. Securing the border to foreign policy.
He now has a record as president that's pretty damn impressive.
Breaking news out of Palm Beach,
The FBI has executed an unprecedented search warrant at President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. The former president has both sides of the political aisle up in arms.
It is a dangerous and unstable moment in American history.
The Justice Department has just indicted former President Donald Trump.
For 7 years, they hated him, they targeted him, they hunted him.
This is the epitome of the abuse of the prosecutorial power to preempt political decisions.
I never thought anything like this could happen in America. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving. On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done. We will take back our country, and we will make America great again. America will always rise to every challenge and overcome every danger.
Donald Trump seems to always get stronger when challenged. These types of things, I think, give him strength.
When I'm reelected, I will totally obliterate the deep state. As long as we have pride in our beliefs, courage in our convictions, and faith in our God, then we will not fail.
You heard it. When I'm elected, I am going to obliterate the deep state. He actually said that in that video. When I'm elected, I am going to obliterate the deep state. Put that together with what you now know about the movie The Sum of All Fears. Put that together with what you now know about the failure of the Secret Service. And then put all that together with what you now know about this lone wolf who's not really a lone wolf, would-be assassin. And after you put the entirety of that picture together, understand that Trump closed the RNC with the performance of the song Nessun Dorma. Nessun Dorma means let no one sleep. Allabba Vincero, Vincero, Vincero. At dawn, I will win. I will win. I will win. Vincero. As I've said many times, there are no conspiracy theories. It's simply information that you have not been made aware of yet.